I know. Who hasn't had that moment? Even when you know that the guy is not the best for you. You know, maybe he's a little bit too smooth. Maybe he's known to be a little bit of a lava. I promise I'm cool. He's the type who would tell you how he doesn't look for anything serious, but always keep you around. Always calling you, texting you, spending time with you. But when it comes to commitment, that's a limit we shall not cross. But then by some mysterious, unknown forces, you start to get to know them a little bit better. Maybe you actually spend some time with them. And you're a little bit confused because this man, the man who is supposed to be red flags all over, is actually pretty cool. Not only cool, he's nice. And it's not easy to find a nice guy in the time of manosphere taking over. Please don't let it be true. He listens, he's open, he asks you about your period pain. No. A guy won't ask you about the period pain, but imagine if they did. Oh, rise on the list like nothing. If you're a man, you're welcome. He might be just the type of guy that you would want to have a relationship with. So you naturally start thinking, wait, maybe I was wrong about this guy. Maybe I should actually give him a chance. So in this video, we are gonna go through how the do you get here? When you meet someone, you know they're not the best choice for you, but somehow you get caught in, and now by the end, you're the one who's putting it much more in the relationship than the other person ever did. And to help us with that, we are gonna use Louise from season 5 of You, the woman who went after Joe to freaking expose him, just to end up defending him at the end.
Joe is kind, is tender, protective.
And how when you are starved to be seen, to be loved with everything that you are, it is easy to come across people who know how to perform that connection while you're thinking it's real. And then you're effed. Hi, my name is V, and this is how we do it here. We narrate, we analyze, we often judge, and we always believe that we know better and would do better. Hopefully. Louise is sitting in the interrogation room, and across her is a detective. Your friends have a pretty unbelievable story. They say you moved to New York to catfish Joe Goldberg. Is that true? We wanted justice for Beck. Did you know her? She was my mentor.
You have this way of digging into your character's psyches, even the ones that seem irredeemable. It's like radical empathy. It's really impressive.
That's too nice.
When she found out about Beck's murder, she was shocked. Like, she couldn't believe it. And what was a little bit sus was how there was a book that was sent in after her death and published.
It was weird. Like, parts of the book weren't written by her.
So she did a little digging. Now, what she found was others who were very suspicious of Mr. Goldberg. She met Dominic, Phoenix, and Clayton.
We think this boyfriend killed her.
They would spend the next few years trying to gather information on Joe, even talking with people who know him. But the thing was that Joe totally vanished. He totally disappeared until he was back in New York. You see, Joe was now all over magazines. He was the other half, the Prince Charming of the billionaire Kate Lockwood.
Get caught at one Vanity Fair photo shoot holding your wife's purse, and the world idealizes you. The adoring, supportive partner to the high-powered, successful woman.
And they were ecstatic. You see, this was their chance. They can actually get closer to him, gather more evidence, and finally expose the killer. It was not fair that Joe was just free, living this lavish lifestyle, while an innocent person was paying for his crime. It mattered especially to Clayton, Nikki's son, Beck's therapist, who Joe framed for her murder.
All the info he gave my dad's office was fake.
He was determined. They're gonna expose Joe for who he really is, and his father will finally be free.
When did you decide Mr. Goldberg wasn't who you thought he was?
Louise gets a little bit uncomfortable, and she doesn't really know.
It wasn't a single moment. It snuck up on me, I guess.
At the beginning, they really didn't have a plan. They figured they should just be close enough to Joe to gather evidence, but not too close so they don't risk getting exposed. The problem was that Louise felt that they are moving a little bit too slow. She needs to do some action. She needs to get it going. So she broke into Mooney's.
I don't exactly know what I was searching for, but it felt good to be, I don't know, active.
At this point, it was basically abandoned. Yes, Joe was back in New York City, but it didn't seem that the Mooney's bookstore is operating again. Long story short, the girlie got caught.
Wait, don't, please. I had to think fast, make him think I was harmless.
It's the books, okay? She was passing this bookstore. She saw all these books abandoned inside, and she just couldn't take it. She had to sneak in and, give them some love. Okay, that doesn't sound right.
I can't stand the thought of them just like rotting away in here.
She basically tapped into the typical modern world sucks narrative, and it worked. Joe actually believed her and he let her go. Now, when she was out of that bookstore, the high she was feeling, it was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
I can't tell you what it felt like to actually be talking to him. I couldn't believe I could do it.
The man was right in front of her. And not only that, she actually outsmarted him. Now, when the others found out, they were not as excited.
No, you
Fuck
didn't.
off. I did. And I think he liked me.
Especially Clayton. Was Louise even aware how dangerous this was?
You can't do that again.
Joe is a bad person. But the thing is that they haven't moved an inch since they started, surveilling him. And this is actually a chance to get closer, to get that evidence they need. And Louise is confident she can handle it.
I'm fucking in.
Now, to me, all of this screamed the pedestal effect. The person who is a little bit out of your league. You're kind of looking at them and you're thinking, I could never. Maybe it's someone who you find very hot. Maybe it's someone who, I don't know, everyone kind of has a crush on. They're very charismatic. Or maybe it's someone who has some kind of status in the communities you hang. Like Big was for Carrie, right? The new, fresh, young businessman everyone wants. And if you ever have a chance to actually talk to them, it feels a little bit like, a little bit of a rush, a bit adrenaline, like, moi. The problem is when you're trying to get to know a person like that, who you already have some kind of idea of, and this idea is, they are something more and better, you might miss actually getting to know this person. What you're looking for is just the confirmation of everything that you already built in your head. So it's good if you kind of snap yourself out of it. Let's calm down. Let's take some chocolate. Is this person actually amazing? Or am I just validating the fantasy that I already have? Like, where does the excitement come from? From who they are or who they are confirming to be of what I already decided that they are? I genuinely hope that was not a complicated sentence, even though it felt like. Now, on the other hand, this effect, this pedestal effect or fantasy effect, I don't know if there's like an official term for it. You're not really falling for them. You're actually falling for who you are around them, especially for Louise, right? She is feeling so exhilarating and everything feels like this is so crazy because she could actually handle him. She outsmarted him. Like she's basically falling in love in the version of herself who did that, who was confident, who was smart, who was funny. And it's basically how it can easily happen in real life. You meet someone who you know it's not good for you, but because they are so charismatic or because they have a certain status in the society, when they actually give attention to you, when you talk to them, you feel, am I special? You manage to charm them, to impress them. So again, it's not that you're actually amazed by the person when you meet them. It's more about you're amazed with yourself on how you're handling this situation, how you get their attention. Now, when you feel that way, even though you know that that person is not the best choice for you, because you have this sense of that you're in control and you're handling the situation, you're kind of confusing confidence in that moment with a genuine security. Like you're actually, let's say, quote unquote, safe with this person. It's good to ask yourself, wait, is this about them or is it about me? So she breaks into the Moonies again. Now, this time when Joe finds her, she's actually packing like a sleeping bag or a mattress. And, the story kind of writes itself.
Are you sleeping here?
Yeah, that's, people suck. Sometimes it's just easier to be alone.
Now, Joe is very understanding. He doesn't call the cops, even though this is a person who broke into his bookstore for the second time. He just lets her pack her things and lets her go. He even asks her what is her name on the way out.
It's, Brontë.
No, it's not.
I know. Anyway.
It's almost like I'm not obliged to tell you my real name, so I'm Brontë and take it or leave it type of thing. But what she didn't expect is that Joe would offer her a job at the bookstore.
How would you like to work here, Brontë?
Yes. If you thought that you need connections, a good CV, recommendations to get a job, oh my God, you are such a freaking amateur. All you have to do is break into a bookstore. Then the rich owner is going to find out. They are going to offer you the job right there on the spot because, you cute. So Louise became Brontë, the quirky, young, cute, not like the others, manic pixie bookstore assistant that Joe just cannot resist. And this, when I was watching the show, she became someone that was annoying the shit out of me 90% of the time. You see, Brontë is the underdog who appreciates literature and hates how the world is becoming soulless.
You know, a used bookstore in the 21st century doesn't stand a chance. All that's left of them is empty husks of real estate.
Someone who Joe could very easily connect to. Books are Joe's whole life. And let's not forget how Joe thinks that most of the books are more worthy than, people. She also has to be innocent, pure, not corrupted by the big world.
She's an Ohio girl who has dreams of becoming a playwright.
She also had to be a bit quirky and fun.
Isn't it gorgeous? I found it on the street. Can you believe that?
But also challenging.
Isn't this place just a tax write-off for you?
I actually worked here for years.
To seem more interesting while attending Columbia?
I didn't go to college. I was here making a living.
What better way to make a man feel special if not by not being impressed by his wealth, so he can impress you of how he actually had a life of struggle before all of this. She also needs to be someone who, despite being quirky and fun, is not easy to get. If Joe offers her a higher paycheck,
You can't just throw money at everything, Joe. I'm not a charity case.
But what's even better is if you're being sarcastic and totally real and authentic, okay?
No, of course not. No.
I'm just giving you shit. I will always take your money.
And then when the opportunity comes, you know what you have to do. Just flirt a little bit. Make him wonder.
What's thorn on what?
Okay. You always root for the good guys, huh? That is noble of you, but I prefer the baddies myself.
Was that for you?
So clearly, Louise, is creating this persona of Brontë, and the aim is for Joe to fall for her. Now, when it comes to Louise, she's after a freaking killer. But in our normal, the only adventure is spending a little too much life. How many times have we put on a role just to be, liked? Just to be the person that he could probably want. If you're telling me that you have never been the cool girl in your life, clearly you're better than me. Okay, congrats. You can teach us things. Often in younger years or in general, if you never, learn how to trust your own individuality, you might shape yourself into someone to be chosen and then call that love. And then later on, you have the identity crisis, which shit goes down, but, details. Now, it can happen very naturally, right? You just are a little bit more fun. You are a little bit more talkative. You are a little bit more playful. And that can easily result into, oh my God, we are so good together. Oh my God, the connection is so strong. Not realizing that what you're feeling is the high of getting the validation rather than actually seeing if you have a real connection and compatibility, which usually, let me break it down, is not going to happen on one date, okay? It's not going to happen on the first date, okay? So chill, go on a couple of dates, get to know the person. Am I actually giving this a chance for the two of us to get to know each other and see if this is going to work? Or am I just, auditioning for love? For those who already went through this experience, you know that when you are approaching a relationship, a situationship, dating, whatever it is, with a certain better version than who you actually are, you're setting yourself in a box that will be difficult to remove. Without even knowing, you are isolating yourself because the more you get recognition, the more you are afraid to show who you are or even learn who you are, express your needs, express your boundaries, because showing that you're anything but who you were at the beginning could literally mean that this person is just going to walk away. It's better to lay out the cards at the beginning. If I'm a needy person, yes, I'm a needy person. If I like talking on a regular basis, yes, I like talking on a regular basis. To me, personally, it's always better to just be open, trust who you are, and you're going to actually find the right person for yourself. Now, while Brontë was making sure that Joe feels safe around her and starts falling for her in some way, Louise was on a mission. And when the opportunity came, she needed to know. You see, there was a rumor, and she wants to check if it's real with a little YouTube tutorial on how to pick a lock, and she was in.
Holy shit.
The cage was freaking real. Also a bit disappointing. There was no one in there to save. All there was a bunch of books. But Louise takes her phone and she starts collecting evidence. Click, click, clack. The door closes, and if you know anything about Joel Goldberg and the cage, it locks on the outside. It's safe to say that Louise goes very quickly from the excitement to panic. What the F did she get herself into? Now, this reminded me so much about the shift of the power. When you enter something where, like we said before, you feel like you can handle it. You know that this guy is not looking for anything serious, but honestly, you know that, and he's not even for you, like really for you. So you're also just having fun. You're also just being casual. And then somehow you look around and you're like, why am I obsessed with him? How the F did I get into this knowing that I have things under control? I am aware of what this is. But now, look at me. Like, I'm checking the text. I'm being all invested and vulnerable. This was not the plan. If I'm getting with someone who I know is not the best choice, because maybe we're looking for something different in life, but then it starts to feel like I'm getting invested in some way, you need to ask yourself, am I genuinely in control here? Or am I just ignoring how quickly I'm becoming attached? How quickly things are going in the direction that they shouldn't go? That I said at the beginning, I know this is not gonna go there. But somehow now I'm there. I'm there. They're not though. If you know someone is not the best for you, don't even go in that direction. Just don't. And sometimes it's better to tell yourself, you know what, Biz, I'm weak. Okay? I am weak. I know I'm not gonna handle it, so I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna spend my energy into finding someone who is actually good for me. And I'm not gonna try to test myself and I'm the one who's in control when I'm clearly not. I'm still watching Korean dramas and crying about a soulmate to come my way. By the way, even if you get in that situation, like, it's never too late to walk out, okay? It's never too late to say, Biz, I fucked up, okay? I thought I was going into this with some idea, but now it's okay. Move on. The worst thing is when suddenly you start feeling that now you need to invest even more because you're not going to look like the stupid one. Because everyone is stupid. So just live your life. Oh, it got a little chilly. So Louise is stuck in this cage and hours are passing. But finally, there is someone in the basement as well. Joe is back and he ain't happy, okay?
I told you not to come in here.
Now Louise is ready. She jumps up and she was just looking for some rare books.
I figured that the rare books might be down here, so I wanted to see them.
So you picked a lock.
Joe is suspicious. He doesn't really trust her, so he decides not to let her out. At least not until she tells him why is she actually here. Now Louise is freaking out. Bess, she's in the cage. Joe is on the other side and Joe is a quiller, okay? This is what they found out. This is what they suspect of him. She knows she needs to act fast and Brontë comes to saving.
I was taking pictures of the books to send to a buyer. I'm really sorry. It's just when I heard how much some of these could go for, just one book could pay off all my debt and put up my play for an entire month.
Joe is pissed because he cannot believe she would actually do that to him after how nice he was to her.
You're fired. I don't ever want to see you in this store again.
Now, Louise is feeling two things. On one hand, it's like, I blew it. On the other hand is, I'm out of the cage. Now, as she starts walking away, she turns to Joe and she mentions the writings she found in the cage. You see, Louise had some time, and there was a box full of writings by Joe. It was his murder fantasies.
It's decent, Joe.
And she's all about the anti-hero stories. But at the same time, his protagonist has no backstory. He just kills people.
No flaws, no wounds. My gut says that you have more in you, so. What are you hiding from?
Now, if by now she wasn't pissing Joe off, she opened the lid she shouldn't have opened. You see, Joe has a backstory, okay?
Maybe it's I did one wrong thing when I was a boy, and I got cast out like garbage. Lost my mother, lost my home, people saw me as damaged goods, and I got dragged through the system only to end up somehow a Lockwood, where nobody understands. Because while they slept on silk sheets, I slept on that fucking floor, locked in the cage.
Now, Louise feels like a baboon. She didn't know about Joe's past or the fact that he's struggling now. So she apologizes. But at the same time, she's happy that she got to meet the real him.
It's nice to meet the real you.
You know that moment when you're dating someone and they finally open up to you? And it almost feels like finally they are letting me in. Now, this is exactly how things can go down for Louise while playing Brontë. Joe revealed a hurtful past, a struggle. And while she entered this looking at him as the villain we need to expose, who's to say that now she's not starting to look at him a little less like a villain and a little more like someone who is actually in pain? A boy who got abandoned and now an adult who is not understood by people around him. That's where I think we kind of lose the plot. When we take vulnerability as a reason for you to step back in some way, as a reason for you not to still require being treated in a certain way. It is so effed up, but someone can cry in front of you one day and still hurt you the next day. Someone can genuinely believe when they tell you that you are special and different and still act like you don't matter the next day. Like, that's the reality of life. And every time we replace vulnerability, openness, kindness with they're a good person and they would never hurt me, there's still a question, does understanding this pain change what I'm willing to accept and not accept? Am I convincing myself that vulnerability means something and I'm basically just high on the fact that they finally opened up to me? Now, the detective asks Louise if she has any copies of the writings she found. But Louise didn't make any because she didn't find it necessary. I mean, yes, they were murder fantasies, but none of the details actually matched what they know about the murders that happened. Though there was one thing she learned about Joe.
I realized Joe is a romantic. They were all stories about him being a white knight for the woman he loved.
Which gave her an idea.
I think I can get Joe to fall in love with me.
What?
You're joking, right?
All she needs to do is be the damsel in distress. I mean, sure, Beck was her mentor. She loved Beck, but Beck was a little bit lost herself. She was exactly the type that Joe would go for. So she just needs to play in that. Side note, you never go wrong when you underestimate the ones that were before you, right? They were just a little bit off. You different. The first thing she needs to do is get into Joe's good graces again. But luckily, Joe himself contacts Brontë.
I'm sorry for firing you and for some of the things I said, because you're right. I have been hiding certain things.
He's offering her job back. But not only that, he takes her upstairs to his old apartment.
So it's yours, if you want it. You don't have to crash with your bad vibes ex anymore.
Now, Louise is a little bit sus. He's just giving her his apartment. So as Brontë, she's like, where's the catch? Joe closes the door behind them, and this makes Louise uncomfortable. I mean, she is alone in the apartment of a Quiller.
Is everything okay?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just.
Louise quickly snaps into Brontë, and she's like, I need to be honest with you. I know I said I don't really know about much about you apart from, you're the Prince Charming, but at the same time, you're literally everywhere.
And they said that it was your late wife's idea to put them in a cage in Montfray-Lindet. So I guess when I saw a cage here, it just kind of freaked me out a little bit.
It makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I think this is just too much, and
I should go.
She got the idea from me.
Joe tells her that his ex-wife actually got the idea from him. You see, he told her about how Mr. Mooney locked Joe as a kid in the cage as a way of punishment, but also to strengthen him, right? And she used that against him.
Do you have any idea how it feels to know that the person you trusted most used your childhood trauma to harm other people?
Now, Louise at this point obviously feels like asshole. So, in her Brontë role, she apologizes. But Joe doesn't want her to apologize. I mean, she's smart. She's asking the right questions. And that's what he respects about her. He tells her that the job and the apartment can be hers. She can decide however she feels like, and there is no pressure.
There's really no catch.
No catch.
I don't sleep with married men, okay?
No, this is nothing like that. I can see how it reads like
The
that.
thing is that, she had some good points about his writing. And he was hoping if she could read some more.
Okay. You got a deal.
So Louise is back in the game as Brontë. She has a job at Joe's, which will mean that she will see him every day. And she also lives in his apartment, which is perfect for the, Joe feeling like saving the damsel in distress. Her strategy is strategying. Does that sound weird? Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this. I think I went in some other videos. Every time you consciously or unconsciously get into this save me, it is very easy to mistaken the person and what kind of connection the two of you actually have with he's a good person because he is rescuing me, right? It's always good to ask yourself, is this really about the person or is it about the fact that I always wanted to be saved and, that just makes me ignore that this person might not be actually for me. Now, the second thing is this whole cage going from being a red flag to a, oh my God, poor baby story. Joe has a cage. Louise is aware of that cage and that makes her feel uncomfortable. But suddenly, this cage is not a symbol of danger. It is a symbol of how Joe was used and how Joe was hurt, how someone took advantage of his pain. Now, everyone has this cage in their life that goes from being a red flag because it has some kind of story, be it true or not true, to wow, this is actually something profound. It's the temper that is just being passionate. The cheating he blames on, childhood experience or the examples that he saw or how he never learned how to truly love. In all these cases, the thing that once made you feel like this does not feel right turns into, I just need to understand him better. Those are also points where you need to ask yourself, okay, is this really genuine? Or are they telling me this so I would again soften my boundaries or not demand so much from them? Maybe he's just misunderstood. Maybe I can help. Maybe it will be different this time. And that's the real cage, okay? The one that you lock on the inside while convincing yourself that it's complicated. Now, despite this strategy of damsel in distress seemingly working, they know that Joe is a smart guy.
He's gonna sniff you out. Well, best case scenario, the whole thing's shot. Worst case, You get disappeared because he's a fucking killer.
They need to make it a bit more real. They need to expand Bronte's world. They need to give him something that she needs saving from.
Or someone to save me from.
So they plan a perfect setup. Brontë is gonna bring Joe to this hip writer's reading poem place. And there they will meet Clayton, aka Bronte's ex. Wink, wink.
Hello, Brontë.
Joe, this is Clayton.
We used to fuck.
Joe is confused. He's looking at Brontë and he's trying to introduce himself to Clayton, but Clayton knows who he is.
I know who you are. A sweet upgrade. Gotta teach the rest of us how to beguile a patron.
Brontë should know the rules though. If you are a new person coming to this place, you need to read the poem. It's not fair that you are witness to other people being vulnerable, but you don't do it yourself.
We were just leaving.
Ooh, but you already watched.
Now, he's not gonna make Joe go there. He knows he's not a writer, but maybe he can read some of Bronte's work. I mean, he still has some say from when they were together.
Clay, I shared those with you in confidence.
I didn't make the rule.
Too late. Clayton is up on the stage together with Dominic, which Joe doesn't know is another friend of Louise, aka Brontë, and they are reading her not so flattering poem.
I want you to come on me.
She tries to shut it down, but it's also useless. When did Clayton understand consent? But Clayton strikes back. At Joe, though, hey, Moneybags, did you know that her real name is actually Louise?
It's like if a lie is 90% truth, then it's easy to get someone to go the extra 10%, you know?
He starts mocking the name Brontë. Of course, she had to choose the most writerly name before moving to Big Apple to try to live her big bohemian life.
And then she stole from me for months.
Now, Louise does the, oh my God, this is so bad. She's emotional and she storms out, grabbing her jacket, basically leaving Joe behind, all planned. Now, Joe is confused, but he's also intrigued. You see, he finally found who Bronte's real name actually is. If you remember at the beginning, he knew that Brontë is not her real name. But now, he can do a little digging.
Louise Flannery, part-time dental hygienist.
Now again, he didn't know that also the social media was kind of curated to lure Joe in even more.
Make him feel like he found something on me.
He also finds out that Louise was absent for some time because she had to take care of her mother who passed from cancer. Now, this is actually true. Louise did have to stop her writing, go back home to take care of her mother. He also finds her Goodreads pages, and there it is, Beck's book.
Your big revelation is not exactly a gotcha moment. Everybody read Beck's book.
Either way, what is very clear to Joe is that there are two possibilities. Or Louise is a lost girl who came to the Big Apple to chase her dreams. She wanted to be someone new. Or she is using him, right? His money. He knocks on her door.
Brontë?
Louise is sitting on the bed, tears falling down her face.
I guess I owe you another explanation.
No. Not for that asshole's sake.
She continues by telling Joe that Clayton is right. She talks a big game, but she's a fraud. She was so desperate when she moved here and she had no friends and she burned through her savings.
I actually thought that I would just write some plays and people would pay to see them. Delulu.
She met Clayton and she fell for him. She fell hard. He promised he's going to help her and now she owes him a lot of money.
All a gift, of course, until I stopped fucking him. I'm just so
ashamed.
He tells her he knows something about trying to start over, trying to be someone new. Well, you weren't just laughed at and humiliated in front of your peers.
I want to drown in you. Fuck, I thought that shit was so hot when I wrote it.
She is cringing in the embarrassment, but Joe kinda lifts the mood up.
I don't even know if I want to be a playwright.
Oh, no. Don't let one come wave stop you. This is your dream.
She shares with him how she lost her mom. Side note, she needs to confirm the story he found, but it's also a real thing that happened to her. And how Joe reacts is how you would want anyone to react. He acknowledges her hurt. He sympathizes with her.
And at a certain point, like I couldn't untangle my love from my resentment. And then she died.
He doesn't question, he doesn't push. He's just there listening, and how kids today would say, he holds space for her.
I'm sorry. That sounds hard.
When her mom passed, she understood that the only thing that actually matters is love. And she promised herself she will never, never be stuck as one thing ever again.
I just want to live as much and as fast as I can.
A part of her knew who Clayton was, but in some twisted way, she just wanted to be his wounded bird. Selfishly, she thought it might get her somewhere.
And you knew somewhere deep it was too good to be true.
It was too good to be true.
But you let yourself be.
But you let yourself be swept.
He was the first strong enough to lift you.
Guinevere Beck.
Joe is quoting Guinevere Beck, and Louise recognizes it. Again, they made it obvious that he would find that she knows about Beck. But instead of telling him that Beck was her mentor, she tells him that she read Beck's book and she found herself in her. Of course, she didn't come across this bookstore just by chance. She knows that Beck was working there.
Did you tell me about her?
Joe remembers Beck, and Beck was a light, inside out. She was such a good writer, so much potential. They actually dated briefly, and it's such a tragedy what happened to her. Louise is surprised that they dated. She didn't know. Wink, wink.
I've never told anyone this. I wish I killed Dr. Nikki. Because maybe she would still be here.
He also mentions his writings, and he knows how Brontë or Louise saw just a murder story without any backstory. But now she knows. Now she understands him better. Those pages, the man on those pages, he wishes he was that man.
I wish sometimes I was as strong as I am on the page.
Louise gets him. I mean, everyone deserves some poetic justice. Joe now puts his hand on top of Louise's, looks at her in the eye, and he says, "For what it's worth, Brontë, Louise, you can trust me."
With all of you.
Now, there is a lot going on here. But if we look at the perspective of Louise, who is playing Brontë and trying to trick Joe, you can also see how this can start to slip away, and she forgets why she is after Joe, or she starts looking at Joe as someone who is a good person. Now, let me explain. So when Joe finds out that Louise, or aka Brontë, was lying to him this whole time, he does not confront her. He's not like, "Bis, you lied to me and get the fuck out." No, he is understanding. He basically just listens. He lets her talk. Now, she might have expected that she will have to defend herself in some way. And yet, she doesn't have to. Joe is just there for her. Even the thing with her mom, right? What Joe does is exactly what we want people to do. If I went through a difficult experience, don't try to fix it. Don't try to say, "Oh, it was, there was a reason," or blah, 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 right? Things like that. Just listen to me, acknowledge it, and leave it at that, right? However she turns it, Joe is acting as someone who is emotionally intelligent and, in a way, someone who you would want your partner to be, or how you would want them to react if your life starts falling apart. Now, the interesting part when it comes to Louise and Joe, and maybe even us in real life, is, doesn't it make you sus a little bit? Isn't the reaction just a little bit too perfect? He just found out that he's been lied to, and he reacts with only kindness, with no judgment, with no need for explanation, or being a little bit mad. That would be the normal reaction. When the reaction is a bit too perfect, when the person literally every time knows what you want to hear or says what you want to hear, it could hint at being a performance of understanding than, actual understanding or actual connection. The big question, obviously, is how to recognize if someone is performing, right? How to recognize if someone meets you up regularly and you go grocery shopping together when in reality, his groceries are for the baby mama who's waiting at home. If you know, you know. If you don't, watch my videos on cheat unfinished business. And when do you know that it's like a real thing, right? Honestly, it's freaking hard. It is hard to just know if someone is lying or just know if someone is being performative rather than genuine in how they treat you. But usually what gives it away is the other things around you. When a person is only performative and not authentic, there are other red flags that are like, flying around. The way he acts like though he is above you. The way he's never at fault and he is always the bigger person. And the most important thing, I think, is to observe if the kindness, let's say in this case, because Joe is being very kind to Louise, even though she lied to him, right? Does it make you drop your guard? Let's say a guy ghosts you for 3 days. And then suddenly he shows up at your door with a bouquet of flowers and he apologizes that he was just going through a lot and he thanks you for your patience. And just like that, instead of focusing on still holding your, hey, I don't want to be treated like this, you focus on, oh my God, like, okay, I can understand. And also look how nice he is. He came with flowers, he apologized, and he even acknowledged that I had to wait for him. But if you look at it from the distance, then you see that that act of kindness didn't actually address the behavior that happened. It just made you distracted from it. It just redirected the focus. While you're thinking, okay, this is now good, he's just like, whoop, dodge that one. And if this becomes a pattern, then you know that, you need to walk away. So Joe decides to leave. It's late and he needs to get home. But as he's walking through that door, Louise comes after him.
I'm not your trope, like the poor girl to your rich guy or whatever.
Joe is confused, but Louise is firm and direct. I mean, they're adults. They can say the quiet parts out loud.
I'm a mess, and I don't think I can handle an affair as much as I would enjoy myself.
Joe is looking at Louise and he gets flustered. It's almost like he zones out a little bit. He's just looking at her and then...
I should go.
Oh my God, this is my favorite thing. If you're calling out the pattern or if you know what this is about, then it means that you have it in control, okay? It's a self-awareness trap. I told him I'm not the type to play games while I'm still analyzing every text and trying to make him chase me. I'm very self-aware. I would never fall for a narcissist while missing the manipulation because he's just been through so much and you get him. You think that just because you acknowledge a thing, then you're also safe from it, right? Then it cannot happen to you. Like, you know it already. If I say that I know that this is a situationship, then there is no way I can get caught in it, right? If I know that he's been a serial cheater, I mean, I'm already aware of that, which makes me different than all the other women he actually did this to, right? And I told him that you better not do it. So, he won't. Now, how Joe reacts when he's not arguing back, but he almost like just zones out and then he needs to go. It's again a very easy way to make you feel or to create an additional sense of safety. Because if you say, I'm not going to be the other woman, and the person tells you, I know, I don't want you to be the other woman. Then it almost makes you feel like if you become the other woman, you're not actually the other woman because you agreed from the beginning that you're not the other woman. It's funny, but in a way, it's what happens in toxic relationships and with people who know how to attach to you, but at the same time make you feel like you're the one in control. even though you're not. It kind of falls in the same basket as it does with the boundaries. Just having boundaries means nothing if you're not gonna do the action required if a boundary is broken. If you don't pair the awareness with actual actions or consequences, or what does that awareness actually mean, then you're just being self-aware while still being in denial. Now, Louise is back with her friend, Dominic. They are at a bar, and Louise is kind of sharing everything that happened with Joe.
He wishes he killed Dr. Nikki.
Ew, Jesus, what the fuck?
He said that maybe if he did, maybe Beck would still be alive. Would her killer say something like that?
Dominic is a bit confused because what does she mean? Like, they've talked to people who know Joe, and there's also the cage. I mean, they know it was him who did it. Not according to Louise. They think they know. Now, at this point, Dominic is like, sweetie.
They literally call Joe Prince Charming. Don't let him fool you.
Louise should focus on the mission and let everything get out of her head, okay? All the rest, let it go. We know what we're here for. We know why you're going after Joe, and let's keep it that way. That's the thing, right? When there is a sense of connection, vulnerability, if someone is nice to you, treats you good, you start kind of override the logic, right? You basically stop looking at the facts or what is in front of you or what you know to be true, and you start looking it through the lens of how you feel about that person. For example, your friend or your partner is putting you down in front of other friends, and then your friend is kind of like, look, I don't think that was okay. And instead of you looking at the situation and acknowledging that, yes, that was not okay, because you love this person, because you share something, you start looking at it through that lens, meaning you find excuses for them. No, that's just how he talks. He doesn't really mean anything by it. He's just, sometimes he says things. And this is how people stay in toxic relationships, right? It's not about that they don't see the red flags. It's more like moments of connection and love that you feel start to become more important, while the red flags, that doesn't mean anything. But here's the thing. The little group that's going after Joe, they know that, they need to push it a little bit. They need to push Joe so he shows who he really is. Because right now, everything is just a little bit too peachy and perfect. And even their friend Louise, she's losing it, okay? So they need to make the next step. So they decide they're going to stage another Louise/Brontë needs saving from bad ex. They come up with an idea of convincing Joe to do like an opening night for the bookstore, right? And while everyone is going to be invited there, Clayton is going to come, he's going to play the bad ex again, and Joe is going to, flip. Or Joe is going to react in a way that will make everyone see who Joe really is, that he's not this kind, attentive, vulnerable person.
It's going to be classy and cool. It's like an if you know kind of thing.
Now, apart from the opening night, Brontë has another request for Joe.
I was hoping maybe you might want to take a look at some new pages of mine.
An hour or two later, Joe loved it. I mean, it's such an interesting take on toxic love. Brontë is surprised. I mean, really? He really liked it? And he's like, yeah, it's amazing. He does want to know about the nameless main character. You see, the way he's pursuing Huntress against her will and his cruelty, he just kind of feels real. Brontë chuckles. I mean, she would love if the source of her writing wouldn't be her toxic exes, but that's what you do as a writer, right?
And I must write my pain.
If it were up to me, we take men like that and line them up in front of a firing squad. I'm sorry, that's just adding to toxicity, isn't it?
Honestly, Brontë sometimes feels that witnessing an abuser's punishment would be the only thing she needs to heal. She fucks with the chaotic good, Joe is confused. What do you mean chaotic good? And she's like, Biz, you don't know what chaotic good is? Let me explain. She takes a pen and paper and she draws kind of like a matrix, I guess, right? On top, you have the chaotic, neutral, and lawful. And on the side, you have good, neutral, evil. So for example, lawful good would be Superman, right? He wouldn't break the law even if it's for the greater good. But the best is chaotic good.
Chaotic good is my babe. They are messy, they make mistakes, hence chaotic, but they have good hearts and they will break the rules for the right reason.
I mean, this is what all the romances are about, okay? Or at least the best ones. They all have a morally great guy who will beast out to protect the woman they love. Then you have the chaotic evil. These are the people who actually want to hurt people.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Downstairs.
Go. Thank you for reading.
No, thank you.
Bess, tell me that you weren't at one point in your life fantasizing about the chaotic good. Tell me that you weren't reading a book and thinking, oh my God, I wish I would have a guy like this, right? The underground lord who is actually very soft and he has a little city hidden full of joy. And he reveals that to you. And look, it's all good. It's all good when it stays on the paper, okay? When that fantasy is on that page or in the Netflix show, and you are in reality in a very safe, comfortable environment, tucked under your blanket with a nice hot cup of tea, and you can basically pause at any time, okay? The problem becomes, though, when you start to take that character, that fantasy into real life, and you're like, oh, I found him. I mean, we've all been sold that idea, the bad boy who is actually good. And you know why is it so appealing? Well, it's kind of good to sense a little danger, to be a little bit, what will happen, knowing that it's not real, right? That danger can be real. Like someone being evil, that's just not acceptable. That's not what you want to actually digest. If someone is emotionally unavailable, if someone lies to you, it's because they need to protect you. That's the reality we are willing to accept. But it's much more difficult to accept that, no, maybe they are just lying to you because they don't respect you. No. The guy who's a little dangerous, a little messy, he's just a wounded boy and he just needs the right girl. You, obviously. And boom, you're in. You go for the possessive one. You go for the emotionally unavailable one. Well, because you want to finally be acknowledged as the special one. The one that in all the shows and in the books gets the guy, right? Gets the perfect guy. Unfortunately, in most cases, the romance part of that type of guy is not real. We romanticize it. We make it something that it isn't. I mean, if you look at Louise, that's exactly what's happening with Joe, right? Before she got close to him, he was a terrifying man. He was someone who shouldn't be freely walking on the streets, right? But now, when she gets to know him a little bit better, well, he's a kind, gentle man who fantasize about protecting the woman he loves. He's terrifying, but at the same time, she sees deeper. Now, is she conveniently ignoring that this is a rich person who is married with a son and yet is occasionally flirting with a young new assistant? Yeah, no. When it comes to real life and when it comes to people who break the rules in real life, they are not doing it because of you. There is no dinosaur walking on the street they need to run after and protect. Or kill to protect you, okay? Usually they do it because they want to do it. It makes them feel good in some way. And those type of people, in some cases, they're gonna try to convince you to break the rules with them. And in very dangerous cases and real cases, it's not gonna be long until they break you. Being with someone chaotic good doesn't automatically mean that this is passion and this is something real and something messy, but you go through it together. Sometimes it just means that people are emotionally unstable. So Joe had to leave the place, which makes Louise be alone in the bookstore. And of course, what does the lady do? She snoops around, okay? Maybe she's gonna find something that will help her in this confusion.
No time to write, huh? Liar.
Despite Joe saying how he didn't have any time to write recently, he did write. Oh, he did write. He wrote about her. Well, about Brontë. And we're not talking just some generic shit. We're talking her light refuses to hide type of shit, okay?
She fears who she is and loves who she is. All at once, I unbuttoned the tattered cardigan. And she's naked beneath.
It's like, sir, let's calm down. But it's working. Louise is melting in more places than one. Okay, that's nasty. Is it though? It seems that Louise is basically, overwhelmed by the whole situation. Like, this is getting really, really confusing. So she texts Dominic, Phoenix, and Clayton that they should call it off for the night, right? They were planning this opening night where Clayton would come and play the bad ex, but she just can't do it, okay? She doesn't feel like performing that night, so she just wants to call it off. So the grand opening starts, and boom, Clayton comes in.
I told you not to come.
Is he watching? He is, right?
Ow, Clay.
And it works. Joe is right next to Brontë like a lightning bulb, okay?
Hey! Get your hand off her now.
He's actually very calm and very firm. There is a sense of power in him, a sense of protectiveness. But Clayton is like, you'll get her when I'm done with her. Now this makes Joe rage. He grabs Clayton and pushes him on the bookshelf.
Get the fuck out of here and stay away from her. I will not tell you twice.
Clayton is freaked out, okay? We know he is making sure that the lunch is not coming out the back door. And when he finally gets out, Joe turns to Brontë and he asks her if she's okay. Now, Brontë is shaken and there's tears falling down her face. And she just says that she needs some time alone.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think I need some air.
Now, Joe comes right after her. He actually apologizes to her. He knows that he shouldn't interfere and he most definitely shouldn't put hands on her ex. He didn't mean to scare her and he knows that it's not his place to protect her.
I'm sorry, it's not my place to protect you. I just...
No, you're right. It's not your place, Joe. I am not yours to protect. You don't get to do romantic things like that when you have a wife and a child.
She also tells him that she found the pages. She found what he wrote about her, and he can't just do that. He can't write the most sensual, tender, complex, and beautiful thing a person would want to read about themselves. It's not fair.
Those were the easiest pages I've ever written.
God, you do have no idea how confusing this is. I am not supposed to feel this way about you.
It's safe to say that Louise is not playing Brontë anymore, okay? She's full on Louise.
I'm not supposed to feel this way about you, but I do.
They're looking at each other, and Louise knows it doesn't matter what they feel. He is still married. And the two of them can never be anything.
It doesn't matter what we feel.
Brontë, please wait. Please wait.
Child, the romance, the drama, that shouldn't be, honestly. Nope. We can say that this is the point where Louise is basically losing it, okay? She's losing the plot when it comes to Brontë because she's supposed to be Brontë, but something tells us that she isn't. The problem is that she is falling for Joe. And not because Joe is a good guy, because if she would look at it with the clear glasses, this is a married man going after his young, cute assistant. How good can that be? But because of how good she feels when she's with him, or how good he makes her feel, he writes about her, he protects her, he sees her. And best, as much as we want to judge Louise and say, okay, clearly you think you're special. When you've never felt that way, or if you never really experienced that kind of, let's say, treatment, because I'm not going to call it love, it's easy to think that's real. It's easy to ignore the part that is actually real. He is in a relationship with someone else, in a committed relationship, and what? He just fell in love in the young, cute assistant? Make it make sense. Joe is playing perfectly into her fantasy of, or her wish of being messy, not having things or shit figured out, and still be worth it. That's what Joe is giving her, right? She's been lying to him, and he just showed up calm and understanding. She's been breaking into the bookstore on multiple occasions, but he gives her a place to stay. He gives her a job. He likes her writing. He asks her for her expertise on his writing. Like, this, it's very difficult to keep your cool in this kind of situations. And that's the thing that we need to kind of pay attention to, right? Not just the red flags, not just the things that are obvious that are not okay, but when we start to rewrite those because what we feel with this person is just too good. It's too good to be fake. Now, the thing is that it isn't fake, not from your side, but from the person who has the red flags, from the person who is manipulative, who is toxic. I mean, how real can it be? So after this, Louise goes back to her apartment, which she actually shares with Dominic, right? Her real apartment. She's sitting on the couch. She is visibly shaking. And when Clayton comes through the door, the vibe ain't vibing, okay?
Got some ice packs on the way home.
It's already bruised, Clayton. What happened to the version of you who was so concerned I was gonna get hurt?
And today, he's the one who's hurting her. And he doesn't even care when she tells him, please, let's take a break. I don't want to do this tonight. But Clayton, no. Clayton is not having it. Everything was set for tonight, and it just didn't make sense that she wanted to call it off.
Everything was set up, Louise.
You ignored me.
Well, if I'd listened, then we wouldn't have gotten what we got today.
We just showed everyone who Joe really is and how he loses his temper. Louise, though, disagrees. Did they really show that? Or did they just show a man who protects a woman who's being hurt? Clayton is confused. What does she mean? Is there a difference? And yes, according to Louise, there is. Now, luckily, Dominic comes back home also, and she interrupts or she shuts down the argument. She also makes sure that they are aware Louise is the one who is actually risking her body in this situation, so they should follow her lead. It was not okay how Clayton just went and did whatever he wanted to do. Now, they all know that there is the final step they need to do, but she wants to make sure that Louise is okay with it.
So, are you up for it?
Now, Louise is still quite upset, but she says yes.
Honestly, Louise, I can't wait to see his face on camera when you start slamming down evidence like Mariska fucking Hargitay.
So in this moment, we are entering the very real situation where your external environment is not helping you with the confusion you are feeling with someone you should stay away from, but suddenly you're getting more and more emotionally entangled, right? Where did I get that word from? So what could Clayton represent here, right? Let's say that Clayton is one of the types that you have outside, and that could be like your experience when it comes to love and relationship, and then how Joe comes off as someone who is contrary to that. He represents someone who cares until you need something, until what you need doesn't fit their plan, their lifestyle, what they actually want, right? It's the person who will be there for you until you get a bit too sensitive, until you get a bit too jealous, a bit too needy. They only show care when it's convenient for them. But when you really need their understanding and their care and their acknowledgement, then no, it's not my problem you're so insecure. Deal with that on your own, okay? While I'm still hanging out with 5 different girls on rotation. When you have a bad experience, when there's someone in your life that is not treating you well, someone who pretends that they treat you well or who perform this nice guy, they start to look pretty safe. Joe starts to feel like a safe space. Now, Louise is back at the bookstore and she is packing. She's quitting and she's sharing that with Joe, who cannot accept that.
Wait a second. Slow down, stop.
Please, Joe.
I don't want you to go.
He agrees. A lot was said the other night and, things between them are messy, but he can't let her go.
Please stay.
They're looking at each other and there's tension, so much tension that you can only break it with, getting it on. Yes, this. Joe and Brontë, Louise, are passionately kissing and starting full-blown affair. But it's all good because, it's real love. Days are passing and everyone is ignoring that Joe is basically cheating on his wife with his young assistant. And what they're focusing on is that they are together. They spend the days together. They order in Chinese food.
He's terrified in that moment. This is the first time he's revealing his true self to her.
They review their writings together and they are just perfect for one another, right? Not only that, Louise is treated like a princess. when Joe needs to go, back home, back to the old lady, he even books her a massage.
Yeah, you've been pawing at your neck for days, so unwind. And maybe you'll feel there's space to do some writing.
He just wanted to make her feel better. Don't think about you being the mistress. Don't. Shh. Take a massage. Now, again, we have to remember where Louise is coming from. Louise is someone who had to let go of her dreams of being a writer, go home and take care of her mother. In a long time, maybe Louise is feeling that finally someone is taking care of her. Even when it comes to Clayton and Dominic, especially Clayton, right? It kind of came out that he was only taking care of her or thinking about what's good for her as long as it didn't interfere with his plans. Who's to say that Louise is not looking at that situation and saying, okay, so I'm just good enough as long as you can use me. Now, unfortunately, she doesn't recognize that Joe himself is doing the same thing. And she might not recognize it because she herself went into this thinking or believing that Joe is a bad guy. And then she went on a roller coaster of all of her beliefs being changed, him being so kind to her and seeing her and trusting her and yada-da-da-da, that now she's looking at him like he's the perfect guy. He's the one who is actually helping her. He's the one who is finally taking care of her, something that no one ever did. Now, we know that this is not really real. I mean, it cannot be real because if you look at it objectively, Joe is basically cheating on his wife while pretending to be this caring and loving person to Louise. As much as we want to believe that that goes together, in most cases, it doesn't. If you can treat the person you married or the person you committed to in that way, that you actually betray them, that says something about their character, about their beliefs, their values. But on the other hand, Louise herself is not fully who she is. Yes, there's a lot of her in Brontë, but at the end of the day, there's also Brontë, the part of her that is not real. A lot of the times when we're looking at toxic relationships, we like to ask, is he being manipulative? What are the red flags? Is he playing me? When sometimes we should ask ourselves, am I being the person that I actually am? In this case, Louise shouldn't be even focusing on how Joe treats her and doesn't treat her. Is he lying? Is he not lying? She should be focusing on the part of who she is in this relationship. Is she really herself, or is she a version of herself? Like we talked about before, are you a little less needy? Are you a little less emotional? Are you a little bit more cool? Are you shrinking yourself a little bit so this person is actually accepting you, that this person is then treating you right? Now, I might say something that is gonna hit hard for some of you. It's something that I had to acknowledge for myself and my past experience. When you lose yourself in a relationship, you need to be able to ask yourself, were you ever yourself to begin with? Because it's much easier to lose yourself when from the get-go you were hiding the parts that make you you. And when you are playing yourself, man, it is so easy for others to play you too.
When did you start sleeping with him? Wouldn't that influence your opinion of him?
I think it was the other way around.
They went after Joe, or they had all these assumptions of Joe based on some evidence they found online, right? They didn't really entertain any other evidence against it, but the reality was different. And that's the moment she realized that her friends were not thinking straight. So while they were preparing for the final act, the act that will expose Joe, she was backing out and she wanted to make sure Joe is not going to fall for it. Long story short, basically, she staged how she left the apartment and, disappeared, right?
Joe, I'm sorry. I'm leaving town. Thank you for everything. Brontë.
And the idea was he's going to come after her because he's going to think that she's back with her ex and then, he's going to attack the ex and so on.
Please forget about me, Joe. I think I called to tell you, not to worry about me. That's it.
Now, Dominic is like, is this like a reverse psychology type of thing?
I can't go through with tonight.
Wait, like you called it off?
According to Louise, that's the right thing to do. I mean, imagine if they go after a guy who's actually innocent. Dominic, yeah, she's not seeing it as Louise does.
We don't have the wrong guy.
Louise at this point is kind of, losing it. She shares with Dominic that she went into this too naive, that this whole catfishing thing, it was just too much. She thought she can handle it, but clearly she can't.
I'm losing sight of how much is me and how much is just an act.
She did not realize that all of this will be so invasive and she will feel so disgusted with herself. Now, Dominic understands. She gets that maybe it's just a little bit too much and they need to take a little bit of time off.
We still have the beach house for the weekend. Let's just go. Clear our heads.
Now, if we look at this situation, I mean, we can clearly see that as much as Louise sounds logical, right? As much she's like, maybe we were wrong, maybe he didn't do it and so on. The reality is that she's not just kind of backing out of the plan they had. She is almost protecting Joe. And it is not based on anything but how she feels with him or how he makes her feel. Because if you think about it, in all this time that she was with him, there was no evidence that he is actually innocent. And all of this is just based on how he treats her. That he is a nice and a kind person and he sees her and he protects her and he's good to her. In reality, if she wasn't focused on the feelings that she has for Joe, if she would be able to keep that, I'm just after him, the fact that he went after her would actually result into, Biss, you see how bad he is? He's cheating on his wife. Just be a little bit nice to him, just play the savior, blah, blah, blah. And his protector kicks in and he thinks he's better than you and he's going to save you and he's going to raise you and teach you and you're going to be in his bubble and whatever. Clearly, he's a bad guy. So Louise is at the beach house and later on, Dominic, Phoenix, and even Clayton are going to join. But things go bad, real bad, because Joe is there and she tases him.
Fuck, he was not supposed to come.
Oh my God, you need to get out of there.
No, I'm okay. Dom, you just stay out there.
You see, what happened is that Clayton posted a story on Instagram that would reassure Joe would come after Brontë.
He wanted to make Joe jealous so that he would show up angry and ready to kill me with all the cameras around.
You think he was willing to risk your life just to prove a point?
Yes.
So basically, Louise was a bait and she did not like it. Now Clayton comes to the beach house and he is fuming.
Clay, what are you doing? Dom told you.
Turn the cameras on.
You have to get out of here. What are you doing?
I knew you would ruin
He is pissed that Louise wants to get out now. And he doesn't even know what the fuck is she doing. She is not Brontë. This is not her story. All of this was done to get his father saved. It's not about her.
You're not even actually Brontë. You're a fucking Manson girl.
But Louise reminds him that this was not just about his dad. It was also about getting justice for Beck. And Clayton is like, Biss, Beck, what is your obsession with her? Do you want to be her? Is that why you became as stupid as she was?
Getting duped by a fucking serial killer.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it, Clayton?
What about if neither Beck or Louise are stupid and his father actually did it? He pushes her down and in that moment, Joe finally wakes up from his teasing session. He sees Louise and he jumps on Clayton. He throws him to the ground and he is raging. He looks at Louise and there is nothing but rage in his eyes until, snap, he quills Clayton. The door open, Dom and Phoenix are freaking out and they're like,
We fucking got him, Louise.
Did they though? You see, when Louise looks back at the whole situation and when she is asked if Joe murdered Clayton, she doesn't think he did.
Your friends say that Mr. Goldberg killed Clayton in a rage. Are you claiming it was self-defense?
What Joe did wasn't murder. It was self-defense.
Clearly, Louise/Brontë lost the plot because we all know that Joe is a bad guy. And if Louise would not be caught up by how Joe made her feel, she would actually also see how he is not the guy he is presenting to be. You know, everything is a bit performative. Everything is a little bit more sus. You know, this whole thing of cheating on his wife, somehow no one sees it, right? Pair that with her own need to finally be seen, for someone to take care of her. It was just a shit show. And, you know, this is where we are now. And that's how everyone at one point in their life ends up in toxic relationships that are not the best for them, because they are not focusing on getting to know the person actually and looking at it from an objective point as much as you can, but we're more focused on how it makes us feel, how we are finally seen and understood and even protected. Yes, Biss, I totally missed that my camera was off, but the audio was still going, so that's good. Now, if you want to get some more insights of toxic relationships or how people get you confused with what's real and what is not, I highly recommend to watch 2 videos. Start with one. They're long ones. You know, I like to talk. And it is the videos on the Netflix show Cheat Unfinished Business. Because I think that there's a lot when it comes to manipulation, gaslighting, believing shit you shouldn't. So click here. Have fun. And remember, trust your individuality.